Going for a boat ride can be one of the most fun activities on a hot, sunny day. From cargo ships to fishing boats to cruise ships and beyond, there are so many different forms of maritime travel. But like with any type of travel, there are certain risks we face, like unexpected weather patterns, human error, or hidden icebergs. We're looking at you, Titanic. Any number of reasons can overturn a ship, causing it to sink. So what would happen if you ended up trapped inside a sunken ship? Are you doomed? Is there any way you could survive long enough for someone to rescue you? Your survival odds depend on a few different factors, one of them being the creation of air pockets within the ship. Air pockets can form when water slowly fills a room as a ship sinks, but does not fill the room completely, thus pushing all the air upward to the top of a concave chamber, leaving an air pocket as the only source for oxygen. So if you found yourself in an air pocket, you're set, right? Not to burst your bubble, but not exactly. You also need to make sure that the air pocket stays oxygenated. When you breathe in oxygen, you expel carbon dioxide or CO2. CO2 accounts for about 400 parts per million or 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere. At about 1,000 parts per million, you can expect to feel drowsiness in a standard indoor space. When the air becomes highly saturated with CO2 at about 2,000 plus parts per million, meaning the quality and duration of the breathable air decreases, you can experience headaches, sleepiness, confusion, or increased heart rate. When levels reach over 40,000 parts per million, permanent brain damage, coma, or death can occur. One upside of being trapped in the water is that CO2 is soluble, meaning the ocean can actually dissolve the CO2 molecules. The colder the water, the more CO2 can be dissolved, which is another upside, due to the cooler water temperatures you're trapped in. More on that in a few. By splashing the water's surface area is heightened, thus absorbing the CO2 molecules in the air pocket and lessening the amount of CO2 in the air. Maintaining an air pocket is a great start to survival, but there are still other factors that can limit your chances. Although the surface of the ocean can feel perfect for a dip in the summer, the temperature of the water below the surface drops drastically. The sunlight zone of the ocean, which spans from the surface of the water down to 200 meters, can range on average from 97 degrees to 28 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on the location. Temperatures in the ocean's layers below the sunlight zone drop severely due to a lack of sunlight and currents warming the water. Not only would these cold waters be a shock to your body, but the lasting cold temperatures would send your body into a hypothermic state, meaning your body loses heat faster than it can produce it. Cold water dangerously accelerates hypothermia, since body heat can be lost 25 times faster in cold water than in cold air. Lifting as much of your body out of the water as possible will help with surviving hypothermia. That way, your body has a chance to warm up. Food and fresh water will also make a play in your survival odds. The human body can go 3 weeks without food, but can only last a couple of days without fresh water. Although you are surrounded by salt water, you cannot drink it. Your kidneys produce urine, filtering out much of your daily salt intake. However, drinking salt water will create too much salt in your body that your kidneys cannot filter, actually expediting dehydration. Surviving being trapped in a sunken ship seems futile, but it is definitely possible. In 2013, Harrison Okene was trapped in a sunken ship for nearly 3 days. Even after he was rescued, his road back to normalcy was not over. Okene had to spend another 60 hours in the decompression chamber to rid his body of excess nitrogen. And then, even after surviving being trapped, he had to work hard to slowly regain his health and get his body functioning properly again. So whether you're going out for some exciting deep-sea fishing or taking a pleasure cruise, remember, an accident can happen at any time. Be prepared and ready to jump to action, and maybe have an extra oxygen tank or 2 handy. Thanks for watching, and if you really want to make Fuzzy happy, hit that like button and then subscribe for more great episodes of Fuzzy and Nutz. Whether it's a jalapeno, a serrano, or even the infamous ghost pepper, we all have a heat threshold or level of spiciness that we can tolerate. But can anyone handle the Carolina Reaper? And what would happen if you ate it? The Carolina Reaper, a hybrid pepper specifically bred to be as hot as possible, is the current record holder for hottest pepper in the world. The Scoville heat scale is used to measure the spiciness of peppers. To put things in perspective, a jalapeno comes in at around 8,000 units. A habanero is a blistering 350,000 units, while a Carolina Reaper tops the scale at a whopping 2.2 million units. So what happens when you eat a pepper this spicy? First, the high concentration of capsaicin, the chemical that causes spiciness in peppers, binds to a nerve receptor in your mouth. This triggers an intense and extremely painful burning sensation. Obviously, there's no actual heat emanating from the pepper, but your brain is tricked into thinking that your mouth is on fire and that you're burning up. And since the brain believes you're overheating, it immediately takes corrective action to flush out the toxin. You'll experience extreme sweating accompanied by crying eyes and a runny nose. You might think it would get better once you start to digest the pepper, but you'd be wrong. The pepper continues to wreak havoc on your insides, resulting in severe pain and nausea that can last for up to 8 hours. And while it won't kill you or cause any permanent damage, there's not much you can do at that point but suffer and wait it out. Keep in mind, you can alleviate some of the painful burning in your mouth by drinking milk, which contains casein, a protein that neutralizes the pepper's capsaicin. So think long and hard before biting into one of those super spicy peppers. This bear is just gonna have to stick to bell peppers for now. Oxygen. It makes up 21% of the atmosphere on Earth, and it's something human beings and many other species need to survive. And we even need more when we exercise. The more your body works, the more oxygen it needs, so you start breathing heavier. If you try and push past the point where you can get enough oxygen for your body, then you'll feel out of breath, and your lungs may even feel like they're burning. But is there a way to relieve this uncomfortable sensation? Maybe a trick to get in more oxygen than you can normally breathe? What if you drank liquid oxygen? Would it make you feel less out of breath? Would it give you more oxygen? And most importantly, would it hurt? But wait! First of all, under absolutely no circumstances should you try this at home. Fuzzy and Nutz are professionals, so let's leave the testing to them. Now let's do a little detective work and figure out what liquid oxygen is. When oxygen is cooled below the beyond bone-chilling temperature of negative 238 degrees Fahrenheit, it will form into a beautiful pale blue cryogenic liquid. Liquid oxygen is widely used in both the industrial and medical fields and has even been used as an oxidizer propellant for liquid-fueled rockets. An oxidizing agent is a substance that has the ability to accept other electrons. Through a chemical reaction, liquid oxygen can accept and gain other electrons from other atoms. In some rockets, that means combining liquid hydrogen and oxygen together in a way that forms water and also releases a tremendous amount of energy. Liquid oxygen has also been used in medicine as a clean oxygen source for patients, though they're breathing the oxygen as it warms and turns back into a gas, not drinking it. But if breathing in pure oxygen can be good for you, would drinking give you a boost as well? Think again. It probably won't, and most likely the experience will be incredibly painful and very uncomfortable. In fact, it could even mean the end of you. If you manage to somehow get the liquid into your stomach, it would boil and eventually create a lot of gas, and we mean a lot. Even if you burped non-stop, your stomach would likely still explode from the pressure. Luckily, in reality, you wouldn't really be able to drink it. Any tissue or organic matter that would come in relatively close proximity to it would die instantly from freezing. Think frostbite on steroids. It could also shatter your jaw, throat, and everything else that froze due to the severe and rapid temperature change. Just like the way a hot piece of glass under cold water can explode. Drinking liquid oxygen would not go well. It certainly won't make you feel less out of breath and will do absolutely nothing for your physical performance. Although it does have legitimate medical and scientific purposes, there's no reason to ever try and drink it. So that next time you work out and catch yourself breathing heavily, just remember it will go away. It will get better. And the more you do it, the better you'll feel. So skip the liquid oxygen and stick to regular old stuff in the air. Your non-shattered jaw will thank you. There's lots of stories of people surviving falls from incredible heights, including one of a woman surviving a fall from a whopping 33,000 feet after being sucked out of a plane. On January 26, 1972, flight attendant Vesna Vulovic fell an astonishing 33,300 feet from her airplane in the mountains of Czechoslovakia. Suffering from brain hemorrhage, several crushed vertebrae, and 2 broken legs, she was not expected to survive, but awoke from a coma 2 days later. But while events like that may be freak occurrences, what would actually happen if, say, you belly flopped from 100 feet high directly onto water? Well, first, water is soft and thus safer than the ground, right? Well, not quite. See, when you fall, your body begins accelerating, and the potential energy stored in your body is turned into kinetic energy. The longer a fall lasts, the more kinetic energy you generate, until hitting a peak maximum based off your mass and total acceleration. In short, the longer you fall and the bigger you are, the more kinetic energy you generate. But when you finally hit a surface and come to a stop, All that kinetic energy is then transferred to the impact site. Now when you hit a liquid, all of these same physics are in play. But as a dynamic medium, water can actually move and be displaced, which is why you can generally survive falls from a greater elevation. But with enough speed, mass, and kinetic energy, even a liquid like water can behave very, very unexpectedly. At a height of 100 feet, the average person will reach a velocity of roughly 80 feet per second, or 54 miles per hour. As your body impacts the water, it transfers all its kinetic energy to the water, forcing water molecules to move away. But at such high speeds, the water molecules are forced to move too much too quickly and encounter massive resistance from every other water molecule it pushes against. This creates a reactionary force that pushes back against the object, forcing the water to move, in this case, your own body. The greater the surface area, the larger the amount of water that is forced to try to get out of your way in a shorter amount of time. So the greater the force exerted back on you. That means that from a height of 100 feet and an average speed reached of 54 miles per hour, a belly flop carries a strong chance of outright death. Though even if you don't die, you may wish you had. At these speeds, water can exert so much force on your body that it'll shatter bones and rupture organs, causing massive internal hemorrhaging. While trained cliff divers do routinely make jumps from these heights, they have learned how to properly enter the water and increase their rate of deceleration, thus reducing the amount of force returned. So while it may look like great fun, maybe it's best to always leave the cliff diving to the professionals. The first ever recorded war on Earth was in Mesopotamia in the 27th century BC. It was then that the tribe mentality, or us versus them, was born. From there, warfare and military tactics developed rapidly, from erecting fortress walls to forging bronze weapons and developing new war strategies. Which brings us to the late 1700s, when the American sniper was born. While fighting the British, American soldiers' weapons were little more than standard hunting rifles. However, even with basic weapons, these skilled hunters and farmers turned militiamen were able to execute long-range kills similar to those required of snipers today. So what if you had to face off against one of the greatest snipers? Would you have the skills and knowledge required to outshoot them? Or would you be a goner before you even lifted a finger? Becoming a great sniper in the Army is no easy job. Not only do you have to be chosen to train at the grueling 7-week-long U.S. Army Sniper School, but there are also many requirements needed to even be considered for Sniper School. First, you have to pass home unit evaluations on land navigation and marksmanship, as well as your Army physical fitness test. You also have to have experience in the infantry, cavalry, or special forces, and you have to receive exceptionally high marks on your Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Talk about a lot of prerequisites. And even if you do make it in, your odds of getting through school are less than great. In 2017, it was reported that of the 310 students to enter into the illustrious sniper school, only 45% of the students actually graduated. Even if you're part of the small percentage to make it through training, the only way to go up against a great sniper and survive is if you've honed your skills in these three major areas: mental fortitude, physical endurance, and psychological grit. Just knowing your way around a sniper rifle won't cut it. Physics and mathematics play a huge role in sniper accuracy, all of which will be drilled into your head in sniper school, and special breathing techniques to keep your body as still as possible. Then, you must take into account what's going on around you. Varying weather conditions like wind speed, the distance of your shot, and the mobility of your target, just to name a few. So you know how to execute the best shot, but that will mean nothing if you can't even get into enemy territory without being detected, and without amazing physical endurance, you won't last long. You not only have to be ready to travel long distances on foot, but also on your belly. Getting close enough to gather intel on your target or to get a clear shot can sometimes only be done by belly crawling. Doing this while wearing a ghillie suit can be tough. This suit is a type of camouflage clothing designed to resemble your background environment, such as foliage, snow, or sand. While trudging through a wet, muddy environment, you must keep your cover intact, even as your rifle, canteen, and other gear weigh you down. In order to gather info on your target or get close enough to take the shot, you must stealthily move undetected, sometimes moving a mere 12 inches an hour. Your slow pace helps you to stay hidden from your target, but can also help you stay safe from dangerous wildlife. Moving at such a slow rate, venomous creatures can unknowingly slither past without detection. Between your sharpshooter skills and unbelievable physical endurance, it's no wonder you need strong psychological grit to become a great sniper. Snipers can spend days on a mission isolated by themselves or with only one other person as their spotter. You must stay sharp psychologically as all of the environmental factors and pressures of warfare loom over you. A successful sniper can single-handedly change the tide of a war. That's a lot of weight to bear on your shoulders. Any great sniper must embody all of these skills. But what if one great sniper faces off against another great sniper? Carlos Hathcock, also known as the White Feather, was a skilled marksman and one of the greatest American snipers. When Hathcock was up against a notorious enemy called the Cobra, seeing a glint reflecting off the Cobra's sniper scope is what saved him. Hathcock fired at it, sending a round through the enemy's own rifle scope, hitting him in the eye and killing him. Holding your own against one of the greatest snipers would mean your technical, physical, and mental strength is out of this world. Becoming one of the greats is a gruesome and rewarding process, but remember to be careful looking down the barrel of a sniper rifle. You could lose an eye. Now, if you want to see more great episodes of Fuzzy and Nutz and make your favorite bear really happy, hit that subscribe button now and leave a comment telling us what you'd like to see happen next. Digging holes has been part of our life for, well, as long as we've been on this planet. Big holes, little holes, holes that go down for miles into the earth. Humans seem to instinctively want to dig just as much as your dog does in the yard. There are a wide variety of reasons why we dig holes, whether for construction, for mining, or for treasure hunters to look for lost pirate booty. When it was the prehistoric era, we might have dug holes like animals, for shelter, finding food, hiding food, or just for boredom. But how far can you actually dig by hand? Well, it depends on a variety of factors. One of the simplest factors is your height. You're limited by your height because you have to be able to remove the dirt and place it on the outside of the hole. After a certain point, you'll have gotten too deep and can no longer get the dirt out of the hole you dug. This is all subjective though. Obviously, one can dig a hole deeper than their height if they have external help from either someone else or a machine. Sometimes building a pulley system to haul the dirt out can also help. Congratulations, you've just discovered how to build a simple mine. Of course, even with the help of a contraption like that, when digging a hole by hand at a certain depth, if the hole isn't reinforced and supported by an infrastructure, it can become dangerous and beyond what digging by hand is capable of. Obviously, the simplest form of digging tool is a simple shovel. In prehistoric times, a crude shovel made out of animal bones would do the trick for small jobs. Eventually, metal shovels would come on the scene, but they still only get you so far down. After the Industrial Revolution, steam and electricity took over. Eventually, large excavating machines became the standard for moving earth and digging large holes. Then there's the question of what happens if you dig too deep. Is it even possible to dig too deep? Well, it just gets more complicated. First of all, in most places, if you own the land and operate under the proper permits, you can pretty much dig as deep as you want to. But there's a good chance that after a certain point, you'll hit water. Congratulations again, you just accidentally dug a well. For most people, this means the end of their hole. But if you want to keep digging deeper despite the water, you have to acquire a pump. But the water has to be removed from the hole faster than it's filling it. So it better be a strong pump. But if you can get the water out, you're free to keep digging. The deepest hole in the world is in Russia and is over 40,000 feet deep. But even that hole is only a fraction of the way through the Earth's crust, and the temperature was already hundreds of degrees. But let's say the heat and the pressure weren't an issue. Even then, can you dig a hole to China? No, you can't. Antipodes are locations on Earth that are directly opposite each other. If the hole was dug in the United States, China is actually also in the Northern Hemisphere. It's impossible to reach it. If you were physically able to dig a hole to the other side, somehow surpassing the incredibly hot molten core of the Earth, you would most likely end up in the ocean, unless you're very lucky and hit one of the few small islands in the Indian Ocean known as the French Southern and Antarctic lands that are on the direct opposite side of the Earth from the United States. If you did get lucky and managed to hit those two very small and relatively uninhabited French islands, and once again were able to survive the Earth's super hot molten core, it would probably take you around 42 minutes to fall all the way through the hole and onto the other side. 42 minutes sounds like a long time to fall, but if you happen to have an important meeting on one of the islands and need to get to the other side of the planet in a hurry, this would be much faster than any other means of transportation, but also pretty much impossible. Studies have shown that many of us have an instinctive habit to dig for no real reason, but sometimes we do it for survival, curiosity, or even just fun. Remember, digging can be dangerous, especially the deeper you go. So always talk to an adult or local official first and dig with multiple people for safety. If you do decide to dig, let us know what you find. We've all fantasized about it. Winning the lottery, getting a huge sum of money and putting all of your troubles behind you. But does winning the lottery pay off? Does it make you happier in the long run? With the largest jackpots being in the hundreds of millions or even over $1 billion, there's no doubt that winning would change your life. But what many lottery winners have found is that it didn't change their life for the better. Over 70% of lottery winners end up right back where they were, broke. Here's a few ways that things could go bad for you if you won the lottery. The easiest mistake to make is simply not planning for the future. Millions of dollars might sound like a lot of money, but there isn't an infinite supply, and it won't last forever if you don't have a plan. Getting an experienced and trusted financial advisor who knows how to handle large sums of money will help ensure that it's there for years to come. Another common problem is spending too much. Everyone, even millionaires, have to live within their means. Fast cars, big houses, fancy vacations. It all sounds great, but it can add up fast. Spend without limits, and you won't be going on those amazing trips for very long. But maybe the hardest issue to tackle is dealing with your friends and family. It's natural to want to share what we have, helping out our friends and sharing the wealth with our loved ones. Many lottery winners have talked about how hard it was to say no to all the people who came to them after they won seeking help. And many of those lottery winners couldn't say no, even as they gave away everything they had. While there's plenty you can do to help your chances of staying rich after winning the lottery, like laying out a smart financial plan from the get-go, being responsible with your purchasing decisions, and staying strong when it comes to those looking for a handout, the odds are still stacked against you, and more likely than not, after all is said and done, you'll end up right back where you started. While most laundry-related mishaps do not typically require medical attention, there are some rare scenarios that can result in serious injury or even accidental death. Have you ever wondered what happens inside a washing machine once the door closes and the machine is turned on? Can you survive if you were trapped inside? Let's take a closer look. One of the benefits of front-load washers is they allow you to fit more laundry into the compartment, which is great for efficiency. And to prevent you from accidentally opening the door while the machine is full of water, it automatically locks once the wash cycle begins. But this also means that if someone happens to be inside, they can't get out. As the limited space in the washer fills with water and you're struggling to breathe, the most pressing concern is obviously how to avoid drowning. Now, let's suppose you've lucked out and found an air pocket. You better hope the washer's temperature dial isn't set to hot. Standard washing machines are capable of heating water to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 49 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough for a serious scalding, and prolonged exposure to those temperatures can lead to heat stroke. But even with a cold temperature setting, you're still in for a pretty bumpy ride during the main wash cycle, and it only gets worse from there. The last stage or cycle in most washing machines is called the spin cycle. This cycle uses centrifugal force to separate and remove water from clothing by spinning at speeds of 1,200 revolutions per minute. That's as fast as a DVD spins, which explains why most washer-related hospital visits are the result of injuries sustained from being tossed around inside while the machine is running. So be extra careful in the laundry room and never play in or around washing machines. What may look really fun from the outside is actually quite dangerous if you're unlucky enough to get locked inside. Over the last few years, Bitcoin has attracted an enormous amount of media, business, and investor attention. And while trading began as far back as 2009, the price of a single coin has since skyrocketed. There are some Bitcoin evangelists promoting the currency as the future of money, capable of replacing or transforming the current banking system. Others are buying Bitcoin as an investment, expecting an increase in value over time since there's a limited number of coins that can ever be mined. In the early days, a single Bitcoin was valued at less than a penny. At the time, the digital currency attracted the attention of cryptography enthusiasts as well as innovators interested in mining new coins. But at that price, it's no surprise that keeping track of your Bitcoin wallet was not necessarily a top priority. The first documented Bitcoin purchase was recorded in 2010 when a developer in Florida offered 10,000 Bitcoins in exchange for 2 pizzas.
a value of around $41 back then. What sounded like a fun idea at the time would now be worth over $100 million. The recent surge in Bitcoin's popularity has resulted in speculators and first-time investors trading on exchanges, hoping to get rich quick. This has led some experts to believe that a combination of visionaries, gamblers, and bots are responsible for the currency's sharp spikes and unpredictable plunges. The extreme fluctuation in Bitcoin's value has become a common occurrence, where thousands of dollars in gains can instantly disappear in a flash crash in less than 24 hours. Some investors have converted their entire life savings into Bitcoin, only to panic and sell for a lot less than what they originally paid, getting destroyed trying to make a quick buck without having any idea what they're getting themselves into. And aside from the obvious risks surrounding Bitcoin's volatile price, there have been numerous hacks, thefts, and scams. So be extra careful handling digital currency, especially when it comes to keeping your Bitcoin secure.
Everyone has their favorite candy and sweets: chocolate, gummies, lollipops. Everyone loves a sweet treat now and again. But can you imagine what it'd be like if you could eat your favorite treats for a week straight? The average American consumes about 22 teaspoons of added sugar per day. Added means anything that's not naturally in foods. But the American Heart Association recommends that you limit your added sugar to only 6 teaspoons for women and 9 teaspoons for men. But why? Sugar tastes so good. Wouldn't a full week of nothing but sugar be fun? Sugar is made of sucrose, a simple carbohydrate that has calories your body needs to burn for energy. Sucrose, once ingested, is broken down by an enzyme in the body into 2 parts, glucose and fructose. The glucose passes through the liver and then is sent directly to the cells in the body and burned for energy. The fructose gets broken down and used for energy, but is also stored in fat cells called adipocytes. Sugar in high enough doses can be toxic to the body. The dose depends on how much you weigh. The average adult in the US weighs about 180 pounds, and about 13.5 grams of sugar per pound is the deadly dose. That's around 5.4 pounds of sugar or 262 pieces of candy. But it would be difficult to consume all that sugar at once. So what about having it spread out over several days? The first 1 to 3 days won't be that bad. You won't notice much difference in your mood. However, you will be hungry because sugar is really just a carbohydrate. It doesn't have any of the fat, protein, vitamins, or minerals that your body needs to function. Sugar not only tastes good, but when you eat it, your body tells you that you want more. When you consume it, the sugar spikes insulin levels and hormones that trigger a reward center in your brain. As the sugar gets broken down, that feeling fades away, and your body just craves more and more. In other words, sugar is addictive, but because it's just a simple carbohydrate, it's not nourishing, so it just makes you hungry. So the first thing you'll notice is that the candy tastes great, but you'll still be ravenous all the time. By the 4th day, you might start to feel a little fatigued, have some trouble concentrating at normally easy tasks, and most of all, you'll be really, really hungry. Eating nothing else but sugar deprives your body of essential vitamins and nutrients, so over time your red blood cell count will plummet. Scurvy can set in due to lack of vitamin C, and it will eventually start to rot your teeth. All of this won't happen by day 5, but you will definitely start to feel some of the effects of a nutrient-deficient diet. You'll start to have trouble sleeping, you'll feel weak, fatigued, and your concentration will only get worse. Not to mention the stomach problems. Since you're not getting any fiber, you'll begin to have some serious bathroom blues. You might even suffer from some very painful stomach aches. By day 7, you'll be downright sluggish, and eating the candy and sugar will only make you more hungry. It will be difficult to walk because your legs will be shaking from lack of strength. You'll be more tired than ever, and your cognitive functioning will be absolutely shot. You could probably survive on sugar for a month or 2 if you had access to clean water as well, but you won't feel good. Other symptoms will begin to creep up, and the symptoms you've already experienced will only continue to get worse. Sugar will begin to ruin your teeth by destroying the good bacteria in your mouth. It will wreak havoc on your brain and digestive system, and it can trigger some pretty deadly diseases, including heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer. But let's say you're not eating only candy. One of the big problems with our modern diets is that sugar is in a lot of other foods besides candy. It's in ketchup, pastas, salad dressings, and even a lot of pre-made savory dishes you wouldn't expect, like pizza and pad thai. Most people have way too much sugar in their diet and are feeling some of the bad side effects even without eating only sugar for a week straight. But is there any kind of sugar that's okay for you? Naturally occurring sugars and fruits are better for you because they also come with vitamins, nutrients, and fiber. But in the end, this sugar has the same effect on the body as refined added sugars. So consume everything, even fruit, in moderation. So will you die from eating sugar for a week straight? No, probably not. However, you aren't going to feel good. And the worst part, after a week of candy, you might never want to eat candy again. Remember, it's a treat for a reason.